I think a big part of travel, why we do it, is just to kind of expand our sense of things and enjoy. And food is always a big part of that. So when I'm picking on deciding where to travel to, there are a number of kind of questions I ask. Can you drink the tap water and can you trust the police are the first two. But beyond that, the country's history and the food's a big part of it. And the more influences it's had on the country, I think kind of the more interesting its culture is, and certainly for the food. And I do not know a single country in the world that has a more rich history in that sense than Romania, having been on the edge of almost every empire of note in Western history. They all kind of have their influence on it. So the three big ones, if you had to pick three big ones, are the Ottoman Empire, kind of bringing that Mediterranean kind of herbs and butter kind of influence. The Hungarians have a big one. They're a unique people that also just ended up with one little country in the present, but they have their own huge culinary history. And then the Austrians, the Austro-Hungarians, are a big part of that too. You also definitely have a Slavic influence and Italian, Roman. They have these cheese pastries they say are derived from ancient Rome. You have everything in there, but those are kind of the big three. But as we go through, I do want to, I was putting together a list of all my favorite things that they have in Romania, and it was too many. So I am lucky in that I have my Romanian, let's say, liaison here in-house who we were talking together about best things. And in the end, I decided, why don't we each just pick our ideal meal? If we each just pick one for a single course and we just put together what we have, then that's a good kind of introduction to them. So that's what we did. So we each came through. I'll go through and have our starter, our salad, our main, and just kind of talk about them real quick. And then at the end, talking about all this food all weekend, we got inspired, so we made some more. So we ended up only making a couple of things from the list, but we just had to cook more. So if you start off your first choice in a Romanian meal, the wine or the drinks, they do have a number of good options. If you're looking for something hard, they've got palinka. This is like a hard alcohol. It'll burn your throat off. They have amazing lemonade during the day if you're not so much into the alcohol all the time. Their lemonade is fresh fruit, not too much sugar. So sometimes I want a lemonade, but I don't want giant sugar rush. But theirs is like, it's almost like just a mild fruit juice when you get a lemonade in Romania. I love it. And they do all kinds, from ginger, mint, watermelon, everything, all sorts of lemonades. But the wine is remarkable. It's my favorite single unsuspected aspect of Romania is how good the wine is. I do wine tours in Italy and France, and don't tell anyone, but I prefer the Romanian at this point. So our wine choices, Amalia chose a Grassa de Cornari. It's a white wine. It's a little bit on the sweeter end. And the picture below there is of Decebalus. He was an ancient Dacian ruler. The wine tradition goes back, at least to him, they say. It's a 6,000-year-old wine tradition. It was there before the Romans. That king is maybe a love-hate thing for vintners, because he was apparently, the legend says, he was so annoyed at how much his warriors enjoyed the fruit of the vine that he tore up all the vines, so that they had to kind of renew them. But to give you just a sense of 6,000 years of wine heritage, it's not a new thing for Romania. And then the grapes on the right, those are the ones I chose, the Fetiashka Neagră. That's probably the most popular kind of red wine. It is absolutely delicious. It tends to have kind of a black currant kind of undernote. It has different varieties, but I went with one of those. And luckily, we just found some nice regional. I'm not sure, this one might be Moldova, but Purcari is an excellent one if you get a chance for one of these Purcari guys to give a sample of some Romanian wine. So that Fetiashka Neagră is what I chose to go with it. And then getting started on the food. For the salads, this one, I put the flags by these for where their kind of influence is. This beef salad, you'll know it potentially as Russian salad because it is that kind of Slavic influence there. They sometimes put beef in, not always. We've made it several times, including today, and didn't put any beef in. But the combination of the celeriac and the pickles and the dill and the seasoning just makes it for a delicious kind of potato salad, basically. It's just a great start to go with everything. A lot of Romanian food in general is really strong on garlic and onions, and really strong flavors. So having a nice kind of just like starchy kind of complement to go with them works really well. I think it is the same way Tuscany does that kind of saltless bread. So you have kind of a contrast to home base. I chose the basic Greek salad, but instead of feta, Romania has so many good cheeses. So they have this telemea, it's called. It's kind of similar. Tend to be a little bit saltier than feta, that kind of thing, but it's a delicious one. And then they have a whole range of delicious cheeses to choose from. Moving into the soups, though, the soups are probably my favorite course when I eat Romanian food. This one, it's a Hungarian influence, this soupa de galuște. It's these semolina dumplings, so it ends up being kind of like a matzo ball soup. It's really difficult to cook because you have to have just the right consistency so that they're not too hard or melt. But when they do it right in that savory broth, it's absolutely delicious. And then you'll notice they have supa, and then on mine, ciorba. They both mean soup, but they depend on whether it reflects whether that particular soup came from more of an Eastern Ottoman tradition or more of a Western. When you ask Romanians to characterize which one's a ciorba, what is a ciorba, what is a supa, they will start telling you, oh, it's if it's just broth, not filling, except for the ones that have fillings. It all gets kind of confused, but it's just because the culture has so much history and so many influences. But this one, ciorba raduțiană, is absolutely one of my favorites, and it's very much Romanian. It's only from the 70s they invented this one, because it used to be the tripe soup is a very popular traditional Romanian soup. But nowadays, now that things are a little better, we don't eat a lot of tripe. So somebody in the northern part of the country in the 70s said, let's make it with first turkey and then chicken instead. And this is one that we made today. It's so good. You make a really hearty vegetable stock, and then they tend to mash up the vegetables, add this egg yolk, and then you add in the chicken, the sour cream, garlic, everything, and borș. Borș is a fermented wheat bran, which it's one of the possible. It's the traditional thing that gives it this remarkable kind of sour flavor to it, as well as the savory. It really just makes an incredible flavor profile. If you have it, it makes it even better. If you get this kind of soup in Romania, it'll have it. We didn't have it because making it is a little difficult, but that fermented wheat bran, nowadays, fermented foods, probiotics are really, they're really surging in popularity. I heard the kimchi exports from South Korea last year, like the last few years, have just been skyrocketing because the health benefits are just massive. So you get a delicious bowl of soup, and it's quite healthy. So that's the one I chose. I can't get enough of ciorba raduțiană. Then for the mains, schnitzel. If you sometimes when you're traveling, you want something a little bit familiar. Romania has great schnitzels. You know that it's that legend. I put Austria, even though the Italians will say it's actually Milanese, so it should have been the Italian flag, but it's thought of as Austrian. They do great schnitzels. You know, the breaded, they'll do pork or chicken or anything in there, and then with great sides. That's a reliable one. You can always go for the schnitzels or pizzas and things too. But I went for tokitura moldoveniasca. Oh my goodness, I love this stuff. It's this hearty stew. The word, the tokitura, comes from their word to melt, because they would put the pork, the bacon, the sausage in there and cook it in its own juices until the fat just kind of melted into this amazing sauce. Add all your herbs in. It's very meat heavy, and then you serve it on polenta, on mamaliga, they call it. It's fun to say too, and usually a fried egg, and then some cheese on there too. And that will get you through the winter, let me tell you. But even on a nice summer afternoon, when we're there in summer and it's a late evening, you're eating dinner, and depending on, it's up to you in the later hours, one of these at the end of a full day of touring it'll get you nourished and ready for the next day. So that's the one I chose for that. Then dessert. Oh my goodness. Romania is a great country for dessert. So this one was hard to choose. I know Amalia was kind of having a challenge with this one too. You have galuște cu prune, is these dumplings with a plum inside. It's a fantastic thing. Cozonac, you may have encountered that one before. The flag on that one is ancient Egypt. They think the original idea, it's bread with this walnut paste kind of folded in and then roasted. You'll see it all throughout the Slavic countries, but Romania, they'll do that really well. It's frequently a winter thing, Christmas and Easter in particular, but it's this sweet bread, really fluffy kind of yeasty dough with that almond paste in there. It's fantastic, but this one's hard to choose. So you have inghețată, which is basically gelato. And I had to, this tip picture I took, not knowing I was going to talk about it with other people, but in the back there is whiskey, which I just love when countries like this are willing to really branch out and try different stuff. Whiskey gelato was quite good. And then on the right there, you have kotos kalach. It's a Hungarian thing. It's basically like a cinnamon roll wrapped around these tubes, and then they cook them over an open fire. And then when they're ready, you buy it right there from the person. You stand there watching it get cooked with your, cold hands or not, and then they just hand it to you and you go for it. So it's a big flaky cinnamon roll as you go. So she thought about this, but I knew where she was headed in the end, because one of the Romanians' favorite desserts is this big bad boy, papanash. Oh my goodness. It's like a big fried dough ball, and then they'll get that other one and they cover it with like a not so much like a whipped cream, or just like a thick cream, like a creme fraiche sort of thing. And then usually fresh berries on top. They'll do a lot of, like, sometimes raspberries are really popular, blueberries, whatever kind of in that area, fresh, homemade, very kind of regional. That one is quite popular. They're also moving towards small ones. If you get one of these huge ones, it can be an undertaking. So a lot of restaurants now will serve you like 5 little ones. So it's a good option. But for me, I cheated. I went with the whole spread, because the Austro-Hungarian Empire was in charge of Romania for a good long while, and they left their pastry culture. So there are a number, I think everywhere we go has one of these pastry shops, or 2 or more, where you just have the most artful collection of delicious pastries just all over the place you can choose from. Grab one and take it with you. It's a great end to the day, and we'll have you busy and walking enough that you'll want them. So those were kind of the initial introductions we had. But as I mentioned at the beginning, talking about all this food, we started to want to cook. And luckily I'm here with Amoya, who's an amazing cook, far better than I am. So we made some stuff, and I just chucked it on there kind of as a bit of an appendix of what we actually felt like making. So this one, they're really good with eggplants. My introduction to eggplants was that we had a dog toy that was shaped like an eggplant. It stained the carpet purple. I never thought eggplants were good. Then I go to Romania, and they take one of these, or 4 of these, or 10 of these, and you stab them with a fork so that the moisture can get out. Otherwise, they might explode. Fair warning. And then they'll roast them frequently over an open fire in Romania. We did it in the oven. It worked out perfectly fine, but it'll give it this nice smoky flavor. Mix in the garlic, the onions, all the good stuff, and you make this amazing eggplant salad. It's like a spread that you can put on top. On the right there are 2 things. The big one is a ciorba reduțiană. She made ciorba reduțiană for me. It is absolutely delicious. I will be consuming that entire pot over the next 3 days, who knows. And then mushrooms. Romanian culture, because they've had a tough history. History has not been kind to Romania. So they've gotten really good at foraging, basically. If you can find something like mushrooms, depending on the season, they definitely are good at incorporating them. So we took those mushrooms, and she made kind of a pork roulade that's also quite popular. This one on the right, that's the eggplant salad that you can make from the roasted eggplant there. My early attempts at food photography are mixed results, so bear with me. And then the one on the left is ikre. It's an interesting one. Its base is fish eggs, like a caviar sort of thing. And then you mix it with this oil, you whip it up bit by bit, and it makes this fantastic, really subtle kind of spread there. And this one, it also kind of, if you do want to make this at home, it can be difficult. You have to find a little bucket of crap. I don't know if you can see that. Crap is a type of fish. So if you're in Romania and you see crap on the menu, it's crap, and it's a fish, and it's delicious. Don't worry, you're not eating a thing of crap. I giggle every time I see it, and the people wonder why I'm taking a picture of the menu. But ikre and the eggplant spread are fantastic. This love of appetizer, the whole appetizer courses is a big Romanian thing. It's part of that Ottoman influence. They're really good at that kind of Mediterranean spread, pita, and looking for that. And then for the mains, this is what we kind of ended up with: a bowl of the ciorba reduțiană, that beef salad without the beef, so that kind of Russian salad, and then the chicken roulade with the mushroom paste inside. Oh, and then of course a nice glass of Romanian wine to go with it. The other thing I love about Romanian wine, the Neagră in particular, is it ages really well. So the second day and the third day are even better. So I'm loving these ones. good pathway for it. So that's kind of the introduction to Romanian food. It tends to be real heavy on onions and garlic. It's bold, unapologetic flavors, but really savory, really multi-layered, and there's an amazing variety and diversity of options available. So bring your appetite when you come with me to Romania.